Hey everybody, how's it going? Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be doing a coin collecting video covering 5 misconceptions about coin collecting. These I thought of on my own, and then I was browsing YouTube and I actually saw that there was some videos on this, specifically one by the ANA, so I've tried to vary my content a bit from that, but there are 5 misconceptions that I want to clear up and talk a little bit about, and let's get right into it. So, the first misconception is that you need a lot of money to collect. I think that this could not be further from the truth. Obviously, you can't really collect too much if you have literally zero that you can spend on coins, though you can kind of get really acquainted with coins through reading and watching videos and that type of stuff. But there's tons of ways to collect on a budget, whether it's doing something like coin roll hunting, where you're really maybe only going to take out about 10 or 15 cents if you do a box of $25 of pennies, or you can also do things like basic world coin sets. Those can be extremely inexpensive. You might be able to do a circulated typeset on a budget for under like $100 or $200 if you're doing a 20th century typeset. And you can also just kind of buy a couple individual coins here and there, really go slowly. I mean, say you put $10 a month, which is something like 30 or 33 cents a day into the hobby. You might be able to, after a year, have a pretty cool variety of coins. They might not be super expensive or great condition, but you'll have a pretty good overview of American coins. So there is definitely a lot of money that you can spend on the hobby, but personally, I haven't really put too much money into it. The most is for buying stuff for the channel. I don't really have a really impressive coin collection, but I consider myself that I have a fair amount of knowledge related to coins. I've been working in a coin shop for 4 or 5 years where I get a ton of exposure to coins. I'm in the coin world, but I'm not actually spending too much of my own money purchasing coins that I own. I can get all of the enjoyment by learning and being around them, but not having them in my collection. And a lot of these warrant their own videos, but number 2 is that it is a dying hobby. Now, that's been a topic that has been discussed at length in a lot of different places, but I did want to weigh in on my own opinion. First off, I have a ton of viewership on my YouTube channel, and I get a lot of analytics as to who's watching. And the majority of my viewers are between the ages of 45 and 55 years old, followed by about equal segments of 35 to 44 and 55 to 64-year-old people. And there's, a fair amount below that and a fair amount above that because the viewership numbers are relatively large. And what I can say is that there's so much of a good age distribution across the hobby. There's no worries in my mind about coin collecting being a dying hobby. It may be true that there's people who are kind of turning away from coin collecting, and maybe there's a less of a percentage, but there's so many people in the world and so much fascinating topics within the realm of coins that I am pretty confident personally that things will continue. Now, that may not mean that prices are going to go up always. There may be some things that just aren't as popular, and I think the really thing that would concern me is if we go to a totally electronic form of payment, then I think that would hurt coins. I don't think that it would really damage and destroy the industry, but I think that that would kind of be difficult if people don't even have an appreciation for money. We've seen that a little bit kind of going away from silver as being now something over 50 years ago that we had too much circulating silver coinage. But I'm definitely not as pessimistic as a lot of other people are in the coin world. I think some people have been hurt by kind of predatory companies. There are some kind of bad coin companies out there that try to just make a quick buck, and when people go to sell their coins, they don't really get too much value back, and it's kind of a bad experience for everybody but the company who has taken people's money. But I think that if you're navigating the coin world wisely, you're going to totally avoid that, have great experiences, and I think that the hobby will continue to grow. The third misconception about coins that I really want to touch on is that the misconception that coin prices always go up. That's definitely not the case. A lot of people who don't really know too much about coins think, hey, I'm just going to put some money, not really think about it too much, and not really take my time investing it into coins, and I bet that, the value will double in 5 years or something. And I can tell you that if the value of coins was doubling every 5 years, I think that pretty much everybody would have their money in coins, because that would be an incredible rate of interest and rate of return. It's simply not true. We see a fair amount of fluctuation. Definitely coins are worth more, in 1900 than they were in 2000. If you take a look at some old coin books, you're definitely going to see a big difference. But I just don't really think that it's, anywhere close to reasonable to think that if you put your money in a specific coin that 10 years later you'll see that. A few minutes ago I was talking about how coin collecting isn't dying, but definitely some areas of coin collecting are getting hurt. I know that in the coin shop sometimes we see some of the best higher end coins, over 5 years that my boss has owned the coin, it hasn't really gone in value. Maybe it's lost 20% of its value. And when that goes from 10,000 to 8,000, that's kind of a big loss for somebody who's collecting. So, there's definitely a changing landscape of coins, and that's something to kind of just be aware of. And it's definitely not the case that they're always going up. However, sometimes you look at years like when you have junk constitutional silver, say you bought it, I bet, in like 2005, and then come, a few years later, and that definitely has more than doubled. But it's just not a sustainable rate of growth, and you have to be aware of that going into coin collecting. Again, I always say it's a great hobby because you should be able to get at least a good amount of your return back when you do choose to sell or pass it on, but it's not a reasonable thing to think that your coins are going to triple and quadruple in short amounts of time. Number 4, we have the misconception that the coin community is really hostile. I don't really see this. I think that on YouTube it's been a great experience. I do think that often on coin forums I've seen some people are very opinionated and don't just kind of use proper etiquette. I get the comment occasionally that's kind of negative or not too well thought out. And I think that there's a lot of strongly opinionated people in any community. And I've had overwhelmingly really positive interactions with people in the coin community. Definitely, not everybody's going to be perfect, but I think that, I've been really encouraged by what I'm seeing in the coin industry. People are really welcoming, excited about coins. And that's kind of what's going to make coin collecting do well in the long term, is if there is a good community, positive people around it. So it is important in your own, collecting world to be positive, not derogatory. Often on coin forums, people will just kind of rip apart other people, and it's pretty unnecessary in my opinion. I know there's a distinct group of people who really dislike coin YouTubers, and I was talking to another creator about this who brought this to my attention, and I didn't really pay much attention to that, but it's just a reminder. And I wouldn't say that there's a hostile group. You do need to be heads up, obviously, when you're in the coin game, but it's not something I'd worry about too much. And then something I alluded to a little bit earlier in the video, but number 5, the last misconception for the day, is that the industry is fueled by scam artists, counterfeiters, fakers, and kind of companies that prey upon individuals getting into the coin industry. And I don't really think that that's true. I think that a lot of people that I know have been turned off to coin collecting because, there are definitely some companies out there, but I don't think that they're kind of dominating and fueling the industry. A lot of people will sell with false promises or tell people that it's a great investment when the coins that they're buying are definitely overpriced by magnitudes more than they should be selling for. Or just simply aren't worth it. I think you see a lot of items that just should never be bought. Things like plated coins being advertised as a good investment, things like that. I've done some videos on collecting items to avoid. The issue of counterfeiters isn't super big, but there definitely are some counterfeits floating around out there. That's why I kind of stick to, if I were to buy a really expensive coin, I'd probably go with something graded by a professional authority that deals with this stuff a lot. There are some high-profile fakes. I learned about the Omega Man counterfeits, and definitely that is a presence, but it's not anything that I would think would turn people off of coins. You see some industries I think in cards, for example, different playing cards, there's people counterfeiting these and it's almost indetectable, or undetectable, I should say. But I don't think that's really the case with coins. And then there are these people who are, there's often sellers that are on like TV. A lot of them are good, but there is a good amount of them. They're really selling for profit, and they're not really considering the people that are buying their coins when they go around to flip the coin. They're going to get like a major loss, and that's too bad. It exists, but I think with a little bit of education, that's really the thing that I try to push on my channel. Learning a ton about coins before you buy them. That's an easy way to get around that in terms of avoiding falling into any traps when you're coin collecting. So those are 5 misconceptions, and I think that again, it's so important to just be cognizant, really think about what you're buying and what you're doing with coin collecting, and it'll make it a really, really fun time, a hobby that you'll definitely enjoy. I love coin collecting myself, and I've fallen into a fair amount of these traps. That's why I'm sharing them with you guys on my channel. Hopefully you guys can avoid them. But with that being said, have a great day, and I'll see you on some of my other kind of opinion coin videos. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If there's any misconceptions I missed, I'm sure that there are. 5 is a short amount of them, and I look forward to reading those comments. Thanks for watching the video. If you haven't already, I'd encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay in contact with me on my Instagram, TreasureTownYT, Facebook, TreasureTown, or my website, TreasureTownYT.com. And I love receiving packages from you guys. I'll unbox them in a video once I get enough, and my address for that is TreasureTown, P.O. Box 201, Greenwich, Connecticut, 06836. So I'll see you on some of my other videos.